Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. In a somewhat surprising move, the WBC appears to have changed tack in relation to the status of the Dominic Breazeale and Eric Molina fight being a final eliminator to become the next mandatory challenger for the WBC champion. On its website 2 days ago, the WBC said that the Breazeale-Molina fight, which is on the Deontay Wilder-Bermane-Stiverne undercard, would, I quote, be a final elimination, a fact that adds an extra ingredient of motivation to excel at whatever the odds. This was widely reported by mainstream media and on YouTube, and the reaction from fans was swift, and it was anything but positive. And why? Dominic Breazeale is currently ranked 6th in the WBC rankings, and the Molina fight would be his second since losing to Anthony Joshua 18 months ago. Similarly, this would only be the second fight for the 12th ranked Molina, since he lost also to Joshua a year ago. Remember, the WBC has been hammered for installing Bermane-Stiverne as Deontay Wilder's mandatory challenger, given Stiverne has only fought once in 3 years since losing to Wilder in January 15, and he looked average at best in his sole fight, which he won against Derek Rossi, and Rossi knocked him down. So the apparent decision to install another mandatory challenger that had not seemingly done enough to earn the shot, it's curious indeed. And boxing promoter Eddie Hearn, who represents Dillian Whyte, he has been trying to position Whyte into the top slot for some time now, and Whyte has wins over Chisora and Robert Helenius and also journeyman Malcolm Tan. Hearn has said publicly it has to be a mistake. Breazeale and Molina can't be the final eliminator. He doesn't understand it. And maybe he's right. Maybe a mistake has been made. So see on screen here, the text on the WBC website has changed. See how the word final is no longer included. It is just now listed as an elimination fight. Now that's very interesting. If you Google the original line that multiple media outlets reported, you can find it, and Auntie Google, see here, it shows the original quote still being attributed to the WBC website. So the WBC was never misquoted, but they've seen fit now, for whatever reason, to change how this fight is described. So they've changed it from being a final elimination fight to an elimination fight. And those two things, they are distinctly different, with the latter giving a lot of wriggle room for other elimination fights to occur. Often you can have multiple elimination fights, you get down to a final eliminator, but now the word final is gone. So I have emailed the WBC directly to seek some clarity on this change. Why has it happened? What does it actually mean? And I've also similarly tweeted the WBC president Mauricio Suleiman seeking an answer. I mean, remember, we've only actually had one line in what is a preview story saying that the Breazeale-Molina fight was a final eliminator. So it would be good to clear all this up. Maybe the website, maybe it was just overplaying the actual the state of things. But I guess we'll see. Time will tell. And I totally understand why a lot of fans were upset that Breazeale or Molina would be handed the mandatory challenger position. I just don't think they've done enough, especially Molina. If you think of, okay, if Molina beats Breazeale, which is unlikely, but if he does that really justify him getting another title shot on Wilder on the strength of effectively one fight? He's all the way down at number 12. And it would also be his third title shot in about 2 years, and arguably he wouldn't have deserved any of them. My personal view is that Dillian Whyte, who holds the silver title and a couple of other minor WBC belts, he should be facing the winner of Breazeale-Molina in a final eliminator. It is arguably a much better outcome, and we'd be able to say, okay, this guy beat this guy and this guy for the top spot. Not just, one fight and you get handed the mandatory position. For the WBC, it's already battling perception problems on a number of fronts. So installing Breazeale or Molina as the mandatory after this fight, it wouldn't help its credibility. especially given the Stiverne situation. It would also give rise to a growing perception among some fans that the WBC is protecting its champion Deontay Wilder and wants to keep the belt on North American soil. I'm not saying I believe in that or I'm buying into that just yet, but it certainly does give some fans enough ammunition to help strengthen the narrative that is growing around that perception. And I absolutely think Deontay Wilder, he would not be thanking the WBC for installing a mandatory that fans would give him no credit for beating. He's already trying to overcome that stigma. So if the WBC hands him another highly beatable opponent, it's almost like a poisoned chalice. They're actually hurting his reputation further. And arguably with this whole Stiverne situation, I mean, he's been trying to get out of it and fight someone else because he knew that no one wanted to see that fight. So the WBC has already done him no favours with Stiverne, and seemingly it wants to put someone else in there that fans would pillar him for again. They're not helping him. Dillian Whyte, meanwhile, he has been quoted by ESPN as saying, and see the link in the description, "I've fought for all these WBC eliminators, and I've got 3 WBC belts. If anyone deserves a final eliminator, it's me. I at least have to fight the Breazeale vs. Molina winner. I'm the highest ranked WBC fighter outside of Wilder. This Breazeale vs. Molina is a terrible fight and Breazeale should win in 2 or 3 rounds. Molina is coming off an awful performance and has shown no ambition. I still want Wilder as my next opponent. We will try to get that. As far as I know, I'm still #1 challenger. Once Stiverne loses, I should be mandatory. The rankings change in the next few days and I should be #1. Gotta say, I agree with him when he says that he should be fighting the winner of Breazeale Molina. Whether he gets that chance, it's another story. And the whole sort of thing about him wanting to fight Wilder, I mean, I actually think Wilder would beat him. On the strength of his last performance, he didn't look great against Helenius. I think Wilder wouldn't have a lot of trouble. But that's kind of by the by. He's trying to do everything he can to get into position. And I would argue that, say, Breazeale wins, for example, that they're kind of on a par and they should be sort of having a runoff to see who should get Wilder next, should Wilder beat Stiverne. Whether he gets the chance to fight Breazeale, well, that's a whole nother story. But interesting, though, the change of language from the WBC. Very interesting in my view. And perhaps the door is still open. Who knows? We shall see. What do you make of it all? Hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Boxing_squared. That's boxing_squared. I'm out.